Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good. This is the weekly market update live stream, and if you're new to my YouTube channel, please make sure to subscribe to it and please make sure to like the live stream. Also, if you're not following me on Twitter, 𝗟𝘍𝗶𝗵𝘁𝘀, this is my Twitter handle. I regularly post market updates and calls over my Twitter account as well. So make sure that you're following this handle, 𝗟𝘍𝗶𝗵𝘁. And by the way, I have been posting some educational content over my Twitter account also. So yeah, make sure that you're following this handle, 𝗟𝘍𝗶𝗵𝘁. And finally, if you would like to receive more organized updates and calls, you can always join in the Discord server. The link you can find in the description of this video. Also, you can just go to our website, 𝗨𝗽𝗄𝗏𝗃, and you can simply just buy the subscription package and then join the Discord server. If you have any questions, any chat requests, then please make sure to drop in the chat box. 𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃76 is saying, "Good afternoon, Chief." Good afternoon, CryptoDoc. I hope you're doing well. So, let's start the stream. First of all, the US market just opened like 5 minutes ago, and Bitcoin right now is trading at 90, almost around 91,000. And to be honest, it's not looking good. The overall market structure, it's not looking good. I mentioned the same thing in my update yesterday as well, that the overall market structure, it's not looking good. I mean, we just had a break above this $95,000 level. And then, on the higher time frame chart, it simply just looks like a deviation. On the 4-hour time frame chart, yes, there was a reclaim, then there was a retest, a small retest at 94.5K, and then we had the small move towards 97.9K. And then, we had another small bounce at this retest, and then finally we just had a break below. Then price once again came back up, retested 93.9K, and then, we just had a move towards 90.5K. So, first of all, let's take a look at the important support and resistance levels. First of all, price is indeed sitting at this important support level at 90.5K. If price breaks below this 90.5K level, then it will eventually go all the way down to 85K. And the risk is actually real, considering that we have this ascending trend line. So I've been talking about this ascending trend line and some of my previous updates also, that it's not just a 4-hour trend line. This trend line actually exists on the daily time frame and the 3-day time frame chart as well. So the risk is actually real, and it's not looking good, to be honest. The same thing I mentioned in my update yesterday also. So first of all, let's take a look at the important support and resistance level. We have an obvious resistance at 94,000 to 95,000. This is a level that price had reclaimed after this breakout. Then we had this 4-hour retest, and price had this next move towards 98K. We had this big rejection at 98.98K. Then we had this retest, and finally another break below. Then we had this move towards 90.93.5K. The actual resistance at 94K has not been retested, which basically means that if price goes back up to 94K, that's where we are going to take a short position. Okay, the most important part. Are we going to take a long position? No, we are not going to take a long position. There are way too many different reasons, for us to not look at any sort of long positions. First, because you cannot do it based on the support and resistance levels. We had a breakout above this resistance. The first retest has happened, the second retest has happened, the third retest has happened, and then finally price had this big move towards upside. So if this retest happens, or whenever this retest happens, it's just going to be like, the fifth or the sixth retest. And obviously, considering that we have an ascending trend line, a trend line which looks something like this, and it's not just present on the 4-hour time frame chart, but also on the daily time frame chart, you have this ascending trend line, which basically means that if price starts breaking below this level, then the breakout is going to ultimately take the price all the way down to 85,000, because we all know that the trend line breakouts, they're quite impulsive, and price would just, in no time would go all the way down to 85,000. But for now, you don't really have to get scared, because for now, price is indeed sitting at this 90 to 90.5K support level. If we break below this support, if we break below this support, if we lose this support, only then price would first of all go back down to 86.5K and then ultimately 85K. The actual target is going to be 85,000. We can take a short position at the breakout. As soon as we have this 4H close below the support, we can take a short position, or we can take a short position if we have a retest of 94,000 to 94.5K. I am not exactly looking at taking any long positions, because first of all, we already have one long position open. And I would tell you exactly what happened with that long position. So I was planning to cancel the limits, to be honest, for that long position. The one which we opened at, the one for which the average entry point is 94,000. So, this is a long position which we opened. So, I was just waiting for the weekly close, basically. I was just waiting for the weekly close. And as soon as the weekly candle closed, it closed somewhere around 93.6K, and our entry at that point was 94.1K. So we were already in a small drawdown. And now, now that price has already filled the DCA, our average entry is at 93,000. And I've set the TP at break even. So I'm basically just going to close this trade at break even. The reasoning I already explained to you, that this was a very important level. Price had a breakout above this level. Yes, on the 4-hour time frame chart, you had a retest of this level. You had two retests of this level. But on the daily time frame chart, or on the 3-day time frame chart, or at least on the weekly time frame chart, this is the most important part. If you would go on my Twitter account, almost 3 days ago, I posted this tweet saying that if Bitcoin does not close above 94K this week, we are all doomed. Okay, this was a very important take, because Bitcoin should have closed a weekly candle at least above this resistance level, just like it did back in the month of May, just like it did back in the month of November 2024. So it should have closed a weekly candle above this resistance. And we all already know that, if price fails to close a weekly candle above a resistance level, then it's simply just considered a deviation. It's not a swing failure pattern or anything. It's simply just a deviation above resistance. And normally, whenever you have a deviation move, what exactly you do? You would simply just wait for the deviation move. This is a deviation above the resistance. You would draw the deviation, and then you would simply just try to. I'm not good with drawings, but let's do it. Okay, so you have a deviation above the resistance. As soon as you have deviation above resistance, you would wait for price to close below this resistance level. And as soon as you have the confirmation, you would enter into a short position. So a little bit unfortunate here, because I was planning, or I was hoping that the weekly close will be above the resistance, but weekly close turned out to be exactly below the resistance. I was hoping for a weekly close above 94K, but this weekly close, if you would check the closing, it was at 93.6K, or 93,673. So now it's simply just a deviation. And to further, I would say, add to the unfortunate part, or to further add to the bearish stance, we also have this ascending trend line. Now, again, the important part is that this ascending trend line is not just present on the 4-hour time frame chart. It's there on the daily time frame. It's there on the 3-day time frame. It's there on the weekly time frame chart. And you know that if there is a trend line, ascending trend line present on the weekly time frame chart, if the breakout happens, it's just going to be an extremely violent breakout, right? It's just going to be extremely impulsive breakout towards downside. It could happen in the next few hours, it could happen in a day or two, but ultimately it's going to happen. And if I just take you back to the 4-hour time frame chart, you can see that price already seems to be looking extremely weak sitting at this trend line, which is another big risk, that maybe you would see one or two bounces. Normally, you see, what happens with trend lines is that you would normally need 3 confirmations. You would normally need 3 bounces or 3 rejections to confirm the authenticity of a trend line. In this case, you already have the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. So this trend line formation has already been confirmed. So it's not like price would give you a small bounce here and then it would go under this trend line. No, that's not really going to happen. If the breakout starts happening, it's just going to be an immediate one. It's just going to be an impulsive one. But with that being said, you don't really have to be scared at this moment, because remember that on the daily time frame chart, definitely it's looking scary. But at least on the 4-hour time frame chart, remember this thing that we are still sitting at a support 90.5k to 90,000. That's an important support level, and only if we lose this support, then price would ultimately go all the way down to 86,000 and then finally 85,000 to 84,000, because that's where an actual support exists. Um, and if you're planning to take a short position, longs I would definitely not recommend. As soon as we had the weekly close below this resistance, I immediately shared the update saying that it's not looking good. The overall situation looks bearish, because obviously, on the higher time frame chart, on the daily time frame, on the 3-day time frame, it's definitely a deviation move. It's not a reclaim of resistance. Things would have been totally different if we had a weekly close above 94,000, because that would have been considered a total reclaim, an actual reclaim of the resistance. But again, unfortunately, that did not happen, and now we just have a deviation above this resistance. And now, as soon as the 3-day time frame candle closes below this resistance, 3-day deviation will also be confirmed. The daily deviation has already been confirmed. It already got confirmed back on 19th of January, almost 24 hours ago. So it's definitely not looking good. And considering that Bitcoin dominance is also going up, the situation for altcoins could be, not suitable. And for that very reason, this is exactly the reason why we have not opened any long position on altcoins for the last few days. I just have one long position open, and that's on Bitcoin. I already have set the TP at break even. I'm hoping that, this hits at TP at break even, because I would really like to close this position at break even. My, again, initial take was not to take a long position at 94k as soon as I noticed that price was looking extremely weak. But again, as soon as the weekly candle closed, I literally had a 1 minute window to alert everyone in Discord that you have to close the position break even. We just had one very small wick towards 94.1k, and then immediately in a matter of few minutes we had price sitting at 93k, 92k. So yeah, we had a very small window to close the position at break even. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that, but it's not like the situation is looking really bad. I'm just stating it from the from the perspective that why exactly we have a long position open. So this is a reason why we have a long position open. I did not want to do that, but again, because the weekly close, as soon as the weekly close happened, just a few minutes before the weekly close, price was sitting at 94k, and soon after the weekly close, price was sitting at 93.5k. So the situation just changed in a matter of few minutes. And obviously, I was waiting for the weekly close, so there was no point for me to close the trade or cancel the limit. So yeah, this is exactly what happened. So this is the update from the Bitcoin chart. And if you would take a look at the stable coin dominance chart, you would get exactly the same thing. You would get to see exactly the same thing. So if I just take you back to the the stable coin dominance chart, the actual stable.c.d chart, you would notice that there was a break below this level. This is an important support level. If I just show you the 4-hour time frame chart as well, you can see that this is a stable coin dominance chart, right? So stablecoin dominance, it had a breakout above this resistance back on 17th of November. So the first retest happened, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh one, and then finally we had a break below. And by the way, you are looking at this support on the stablecoin dominance chart, which is exactly the 94 to $95,000 resistance on the Bitcoin chart. So if you have been looking at the Bitcoin chart, you would know that this is basically an equivalent of the $94,000 resistance on the Bitcoin chart, because Bitcoin actually retested the $94,000 resistance 7 to 8 times, and then finally we had a breakout above that resistance back on 13th to 14th of January, which was actually a good thing. But again, you can see that we had a breakout above this breakout below this support level, and then we had the small retest. Price had a move down to 9.68%, and then finally we had this 4H close above 4H close back above this support level. So on the 4-hour time frame chart, yes, a retest did happen. On the daily time frame chart, there is a clear deviation. You can see that just 1 or 2 candles closed below this level, then immediately we had this recovery. On the 3-day time frame chart, you can see that this was an obvious deviation, just a candle wick below this level on the weekly time frame chart. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So Bitcoin should have closed a weekly candle above the $94,000 resistance, and stablecoin dominance should have closed a weekly candle below this support level, which unfortunately did not happen. And I'm not sure about a trend line, but I think there is a similar kind of trend line which exists on the stablecoin dominance chart also. So Bitcoin is sitting at this um ascending trend line. And meanwhile, you can see that stablecoin dominance, this is interesting. Stablecoin dominance already had a breakout above this ascending trend line on the daily time frame chart, which is basically the reason as to why exactly Bitcoin is giving you this impulsive move towards downside. It started happening as soon as we had price giving you a weekly close above this support, as soon as price had this daily close above this support level. This deviation got confirmed on multiple different time frames, and then we had this ascending trend line breakout. And by the way, something very similar you would notice on the Bitcoin chart as well. It's just going to look something like this. If you would invert the scale, this is how it would look like on the Bitcoin chart. You have this ascending trend line, you would have a breakout below the ascending trend line. It's just going to be an impulsive breakout below. And by the way, this is where the next support for, or you can say resistance, if I just change the chart back to normal, this is where the next resistance for stablecoin dominance is. So stablecoin dominance is, by the way, about to hit this small resistance level, which will be visible on the 4-hour time frame chart. Actually, this is a 4-hour resistance that I'm talking about. It's almost about to hit this resistance level, which basically means that Bitcoin is just about to hit this next support level. And as soon as we have a retest of this support, that's where we will have a clear picture of as to what exactly is going to happen. If we have a breakout above this resistance, if we have a breakout above this 4H resistance on the stablecoin dominance chart, which is basically going to be same as Bitcoin giving you a close below this 4H support, Bitcoin giving you a 4H close below 89.4K to be precise, because this is where the lower boundary of the support exists, then we are going to immediately open a short position on Bitcoin, because it's going to look something like this. And we would just have to wait for an extra confirmation of the stablecoin dominance chart. But for now, you don't have to be scared. Bitcoin is still sitting at support, and there can still be a bounce towards 93.8K. And if there is actually a bounce towards 93.8K, we are going to take a short position right here with our stops above 94.8K, and with our TP at, let's say, at 89.6K or at $89,000 level. I hope it makes sense. If you guys have any questions related to this, please make sure to let me know in the chat box. The reason why I'm not looking at the total minus total ES chart, which is again another good way of looking at the stablecoin dominance, is because total minus total ES never ever had a breakout below the support. So I've been saying this for quite some time that total minus total ES, again another way of looking at the stablecoin dominance chart. Until or unless it gives you a break below this level, you are still in the danger zone. Okay, so Bitcoin is still going to remain in the danger zone until or unless total minus total ES gives you a break below the support level. So let's take a look at it from two different perspectives. First of all, you have two different charts. You have total minus total ES, and then you have USDT dominance also. Okay, two important charts that you have to keep looking at in order to know where exactly Bitcoin is headed towards in the next few months, like in the next 6 to 7 months. Is it going to be a bull market? Is it going to be a bear market? Now, I have explained this in some of my previous live streams also, that if you would draw this resistance on the USDT dominance chart, then this is basically the gateway to the bear market. So if a bear market has to start, or if you need an extra confirmation for a bear market, then you need to wait for USDT dominance to give you a break above this resistance level. Remember this thing, as soon as you have a weekly close above 6.5% resistance level on the USDT dominance chart, you need to just close all of your spot positions, do whatever you have to, but be sure about the fact that a bear market is about to start, because this is actually a very good indicator. This resistance is actually a very good indicator of knowing where exactly the tops and bottoms are happening on the Bitcoin chart. I have explained this in some of my previous live streams also. In case you guys are interested in finding more about it, you can just go and watch those live streams. But just to give you a small recap, that's exactly where the bull market started for Bitcoin. when USDT dominance lost this support. It was back in November, back in October 2023. Bitcoin had a break above 28,000, and then if we talk about the total minus total ES chart, also that one also had a break below the support level. USDT dominance also had a break below the support level. This was bottom for Bitcoin, first bottom for Bitcoin at 38,000. This was second bottom for Bitcoin at 49,000. This was third bottom for Bitcoin at 74,000 Liberation Day tariffs. This was after the ETF approval. This was after, after 5th of August 2024, after the the rate hikes in Japan, and this final one was 82,000. Again, this was all-time high for Bitcoin at 74,000. This was new all-time high at 108,000. This was new all-time high at 126,000. So this resistance is actually a very good metric of knowing where exactly Bitcoin is headed towards. Whereas, where exactly you would have the next top for Bitcoin, where exactly you would have the next bottom for Bitcoin. Just open up the weekly time frame chart or the 3-day time frame chart on USDT dominance, and then simply just plot this support, and then plot this resistance. That's where the bottoms for Bitcoin happen. That's where the tops for Bitcoin happen. And as soon as you have a weekly close above this resistance, that's when the bear market is going to start. And obviously, you would plan accordingly. Now, the thing that I'm trying to explain, this was just a small refresher for all of you. The thing that I'm trying to explain here is that on the USDT dominance chart, you do not have a weekly close above this resistance. So basically, this resistance is what actually matters. But on the total minus total ES chart, which is, by the way, different from USDT dominance is just the market capitalization of one stable coin, the biggest stable coin. But total minus total ES is actually the market capitalization of all the stable coins present in the market. If you would take a look at the total minus total ES chart, you would notice that this one already has given you a break above the resistance. So you see, USDT dominance gave you a break below support back in November, October 2023. That's when the bull market started. Same is the case with total minus total ES chart also. This one gave you a bull market as soon as we had a break below the support level. And then this was the bottom for Bitcoin. This was another bottom for Bitcoin. This was another bottom for Bitcoin. This was another bottom for Bitcoin. Then, but finally, now we have a break above this resistance level. So this is exactly what I mean when I say that there are multiple signals present in the market telling you that there are chances that a bear market could start in the next few months. For example, this chart has finally reclaimed the resistance level after 2 full years, and you can see that we did not have a weekly close below the support, because if we had a weekly close below the support, or if we had a weekly close above 94,000 on the Bitcoin chart, things would have changed altogether. Things would have changed completely. But in this case, you can see that we did not have a weekly close below the support level. And to further add to this risk of having a bear market in the next few months, you can see that we have a weekly descending trend line also. So when I show you the chart for USDT dominance, remember that this whole situation started once we had a weekly close above this descending trend line on the stablecoin dominance chart, long held descending trend line. You had the first rejection November 2022, second rejection September 2023, third rejection April 2025, another rejection October 2025. So when we were trading below this trend line, I was warning people over and over again that once you have a weekly close above this level, price would actually close multiple weekly candles above this trend line. So it's not like there is going to be an easy way out of this. You are looking at a weekly time frame chart. So price would take quite some time to fall back below this descending trend line. So same is the case here. If you would take a look at the total minus total ES chart, remember this thing that we have a very similar kind of descending trend line on the weekly time frame chart of total minus total ES, which is, by the way, an actual stablecoin dominance chart. If price gives you, or if this index gives you a breakout above, then it's going to be a brutal bear market, and I would say that probably you would get to see 50,000 to 40,000 in a matter of few months. Okay, so this is a weekly trend line which you have to be paying attention to. And remember that USDT dominance has not given you a break above that weekly resistance, but total minus total ES has already given you a break above this resistance, which means that you have some solid signs that a bear market could start, I would say that the final nail in the coffin is going to be once you have a weekly close, above the resistance on the USDT dominance chart. That's just going to be, one final thing which you would need as an extra confirmation that a bear market is about to start. So this is the update from the USDT dominance chart, the stablecoin dominance chart. I've given you the smaller time frame perspective also. On the smaller time frame chart, remember that this is your obvious short position. You would be taking a short position here, placing your stops slightly above this resistance level, slightly above this 4-hour resistance, because now that we have this massive deviation, remember the rule number one to trade deviations. As soon as you have a deviation move above a resistance, what exactly would you do? You would simply just wait for price to give you a deviation retest. So this was your deviation on the daily time frame chart. Whenever you have a deviation retest will always happen in the next few days. This is your deviation, right? And now this is going to be your deviation trade. You would have price maybe breaking below this level, then price would consolidate here, then finally whenever you would have a deviation retest, that's going to be a solid shorting opportunity. So on multiple different time frames, on the 4-hour time frame chart, that's going to be the first retest. On the daily time frame chart, again the first retest, and then you have a deviation retest also on the weekly time frame chart, also on the 3-day time frame chart, also this is going to be a deviation retest. So once again we're going to face the same situation in which price would be encountering a solid resistance at 93.5k to 94,000. And previously it took almost 3 to 4 months for price to break above this resistance. I don't know exactly how much time it's going to take for price to break above this resistance this time. But again, you had 98.5k to 98,000, the first resistance level. Price failed to close above this resistance thanks to Trump, thanks to all of these tariffs threat and everything. Price just failed to close above 98.5k. We had a big rejection at 98.5k, and now price is simply just sitting at this trend line. And remember that the risk of price giving you a break below this trend line is real. I'm warning you over and over again that this is the daily time frame chart that we're talking about. Once we have a break below, the first obvious target is 86,000, the next one 85,000, or even lower as well. Do not take these weekly trendline breakouts lightly. They are actually quite impulsive. We have seen this happen on the chart for Zcash also. I'm never ever a fan of trading trading against the ascending trend lines or trading against the descending trend lines. But unfortunately we somehow got caught up in this situation where we are once again trading against this ascending trend line because of the weekly close, because the weekly close at the very last moment turned out to be below the 94,000. I had to close the position break even. I immediately alerted people to close position break even as soon as price goes back up to 93,000, 94,000, but that it was already too late. So that's it from my side. The next chart that we are going to take a look at about Bitcoin. If you have any chart requests, please make sure to let me know in the chat box. The next chart that we are looking at is for Bitcoin dominance. Again, a really important chart. We have to know exactly what's happening with Bitcoin dominance, because we cannot take any long position until or unless Bitcoin dominance gives you a solid rejection at the resistance. So this is a chart for Bitcoin dominance. First of all, remember that Bitcoin dominance has been moving in a range. Should we keep a stop loss on Bitcoin long to manual? No. You just have to keep the stop loss, whatever it is, because I absolutely do not want to risk having a manual stop loss, especially considering that we have this ascending trend line on the Bitcoin chart. This is going to be, I guess, a second loss of this month if the stop loss gets hit, but it is what it is. I mean, you just cannot really do anything about it. And by the way, guys, please make sure to like the live stream, and please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. 30 plus people are watching the live stream, but only 13 of you have liked it. Please make sure to like the live stream. Okay, so coming back to the Bitcoin dominance chart, you can see that Bitcoin dominance has been moving in a range. This is extremely important, because if we have to open a long position, two things need to happen. First of all, Bitcoin dominance needs to go down, and the second thing is that Bitcoin needs to find the bottom. So, Bitcoin dominance has been moving in this range. We had a breakout above this resistance, on 3rd of November, right? So you can see that every time price retested this resistance, it turned out to be a good time to open long positions on altcoins. And every time price went down to went down to the support level, it was a good time to open short positions short positions on these altcoins. In fact, I remember that the last time this retest happened, it was back on 6th of January. That's when I was warning all of you to exit all of your long positions. I still remember we did a live stream soon after that, in which again I want everyone to exit their long positions or be careful with the long positions because of the obvious fact that Bitcoin dominance was sitting at this support, which it has bounced at quite a few times already in the past. So, one thing that you need to pay attention to is that Bitcoin dominance, first of all, is moving in a range. It has been moving in this range for the past 3 months. This is where you open long positions on altcoins. This is where you open short positions on altcoins. Remember that if Bitcoin is sitting at resistance and Bitcoin dominance is sitting at support, that's a perfect recipe of disaster. If Bitcoin is sitting at resistance and if Bitcoin is sitting at support and Bitcoin dominance is sitting at resistance, this is a perfect recipe of pump for altcoins. So if Bitcoin gives you a bounce here, which seems a little bit unlikely here, considering that, we seem to be already starting to have, we seem to already have, having this breakout below the trend line, which is again going to look extremely scary because, once you have a breakout above trend line, again, it's just going to be an impulsive one. This is what I have been fearing, for the last few days, for the last 2 to 3 days, this breakout below the trend line. Hopefully, we get to see some momentum, but we're not seeing anything happen in the stock market as well. But anyways, going back to the Bitcoin dominance chart, Bitcoin right now is sitting at support. 89.5K is the lower boundary of that support. If Bitcoin gives you a bounce at this support and Bitcoin dominance gives you a rejection at this resistance, this could be the perfect time for you to open positions, long positions, or long positions on altcoins. But it's not really going to be easy. First of all, understand that Bitcoin dominance has been rejected at this resistance at least at 3 to 4 different occasions. The first one, the second one, third one, fourth one. This is going to be fifth one if it happens, and we will wait for a few confirmations. And secondly, remember that it's never really an immediate rejection. You can see that the first candle, big move upside, then we had a move towards downside. Another one, price had this bullish candle close, another bullish candle close, tried to break above this resistance, did not happen. We had a kind of deviation. You can consider this deviation, you can consider this deviation, whatever you would like to do it. But same is the case here. Price closed a solid daily candle into this resistance, and then after that, the very next day, you started having this move towards downside. So I'm not saying that it's going to result in an immediate rejection. I mentioned the same thing in my update yesterday also, that Bitcoin dominance would normally close some solid daily candles around here, and then it would start giving a move towards downside. It's definitely not going to happen immediately. And once you have some sort of confirmation, maybe for example in this case, we had this solid bearish engulfing pattern, right? So bearish engulfing pattern, you had this bearish candle completely engulfing this previous candle, which was a solid confirmation that you could have this move towards downside. Another solid confirmation in the form of price giving you 2 consecutive bearish candles, and then price started having a move towards downside. A small retest happened, and we just had a move towards this next support at 4400. So you would have to wait for something similar to happen in this situation. It's definitely not going to happen immediately. There is going to be some pain, I would say. If you already have open long positions, I did not open any long positions because I was already looking at it, so I thought it would not be a good idea to open any long positions considering that Bitcoin dominance is slowly inching towards upside. If we break above this resistance, and by the way, I'm not considering that scenario for now because that's going to be the worst case situation. If you have a daily candle close above this resistance, then we are looking at Bitcoin dominance going all the way up to 4,900 to 5,000, which is going to be an absolute massacre for altcoins. And I can imagine a scenario in which Bitcoin dominance would give you a daily close above, then it would just continue to go up. Bitcoin would break below 89.5K, and then it would just continue to go down. USD dominance would give you a weekly close above this resistance. Again, that's just the worst case scenario. I don't exactly know if that's gonna happen, but that's just again the worst case scenario in which you would have everything going in the opposite direction, right? Bitcoin breaking below the ascending trend line, Bitcoin dominance breaking above this resistance, USDT dominance breaking above this resistance, again, the worst case scenario. But you have to be careful. You just have to wait for some sort of confirmation. And normally a confirmation you would get in the form of a bearish candle close. So if you have a bearish candle close, bearish daily candle close here, that's just going to be a good thing, positive thing. And one more thing, remember that on the Bitcoin chart, you had this ascending trend line. And just a few days ago, just 2 days ago, no one thought that Bitcoin would break below that ascending trend line. Same is the case with this descending trend line also. Same is the case with this your total minus total ES trend line also. Same is the case with this stablecoin dominance trend line also. No one really thought just a few days ago that stablecoin dominance would give you a break above this trend line. But remember that whenever there is a trend line, there is always going to be a break above or break below. Do not consider this lightly. And by the way, we are now back at the resistance, and Bitcoin seems to be breaking below this trend line already. Okay, let's see what happens. You would obviously need a 4H close below the trend line to confirm that a breakout is happening, but it seems to be already happening. I've been saying this for last 48 hours that it's just going to look really, really ugly if the breakout starts happening. But okay, going back to the Bitcoin dominance chart, remember that the breakouts, they're real. Even if you're thinking that this is just a small ascending trend line, there is an ascending trend line on the Bitcoin dominance chart also. So when the time comes, Bitcoin dominance would break below this ascending trend line, and it's just going to look extremely good for the altcoin market. You just have to wait for the right moment. You don't have to chase price at this moment. You simply just have to wait for the right moment. If it's a break above, then we focus on short positions, because then we would have the best possible confirmation. Right now, if you're saying that let's take short positions, for example, Matthew is saying, why cannot we take a short position on Bitcoin? We cannot do that because on the 4-hour time frame chart, Bitcoin is still sitting at support, right? Bitcoin is exactly sitting at support. So you would need a 4-hour confirmation, at least a 4-hour break below this resistance, below the support, and that's when you can start opening a long position, short position on Bitcoin. So same is the case here. If we have Bitcoin giving you a break below the support, and then you have Bitcoin dominance giving you a break above resistance, you would know that, look, now I should be looking for short positions on altcoins because I have now the best possible confirmation. Bitcoin above, Bitcoin below support, Bitcoin dominance above resistance. That's perfect recipe of disaster for altcoins. But if Bitcoin dominance actually gets rejected at this resistance, and Bitcoin actually gives you a bounce at this support, this is in fact a perfect recipe of pump for altcoins, right? This is a perfect recipe of pump for altcoins, and we could actually utilize that strategy. So that's why you just have to be really, really careful here. There is actually a very, very fine difference between as to what exactly is going to happen. You have a break below, break and close below, on the Bitcoin chart, and then you have a break and close above resistance on the Bitcoin dominance chart, and then you have everything going crazy in terms of altcoins. I mean, everything will totally get effed up. And if, for example, Bitcoin dominance gets rejected here because it's sitting at resistance, right? It has already been rejected at this resistance quite a few times in the past. So if it gets rejected at this resistance, it's not really going to be a surprise, right? So if it gets rejected at this resistance, and mind you, it looked as if Bitcoin dominance would break above the resistance, back on 18th of December. But that did not happen. The very next day, complete bearish candle close, complete engulfing candle engulfing the previous candle. Same is the case here. It looked like as if Bitcoin dominance would break above, but that did not happen. The very next day, you had a bearish candle close. The same thing happened here. So give it some time. We still have 8 hours and 47 minutes till the daily candle close. We'll have to wait for the next daily candle also. If this one closes somewhere around here, if this one manages to close above this resistance, that's a totally different story. Same is the case with Bitcoin as well. If Bitcoin manages to give you a break above the resistance, break below the support, that's a totally different story. But for now, since it's sitting at support, as I said, there is the ascending trend line on the Bitcoin dominance chart, but you have to wait for the candle close as well. Same is the case with stablecoin dominance chart as well. Remember that stablecoin dominance just hit this resistance level. Okay, and surprisingly, I'm noticing that this is the first retest of resistance on the stablecoin dominance chart. So this is basically a good news for all of you, okay? That stablecoin dominance, stable.c.d, is actually retesting this resistance for the first time after it gave you a break below the support back on 2nd of January. So after almost 18 days, stablecoin dominance is giving a retest at this resistance level. This is the first retest. And remember what we always say about the first retests, that the first retest is always your single best opportunity to take a long or a short position. If this was Bitcoin chart, would have normally taken a short position, and because it's stablecoin dominance chart, a move towards downside basically means that a move towards upside could happen on the Bitcoin chart, because we have 𝗨𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗃 sitting at resistance and we have 𝗨𝗏𝗀𝗃𝗏 giving the first retest at this resistance, which basically means that it's going to look, in an ideal case scenario, it's going to look something like this, in which hello, can you guys hear me? I think Trump crashed our live stream. No, he did not. Okay, guys, apologies for this. I just had some issue with OBS. Okay, perfect. All right. So, back to the stablecoin dominance chart. I was saying that an ideal case scenario would be the one in which stablecoin dominance would give you a first retest at resistance, and it's just going to look something like this. So this is actually a good news, right? This is not a bad news. This is actually a good news. So, uh, you know, the fact that Bitcoin is giving you not the first retest at 90.5K to 90K support. Okay, this is not the first retest for Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually has given multiple retests at this support level, but this is actually the first retest of resistance on the stablecoin dominance chart, which is, I would say, one positive news in this whole thing. I mean, it's actually a positive news if the situation did not look too bad, if we did not have Trump as the US president, if we did not have an ascending trend line on the Bitcoin dominance chart, then I would have said that, look, stablecoin dominance is at resistance. It's giving the first retest at the resistance. And then you have Bitcoin dominance sitting at support. You have Bitcoin sitting at support. You have Bitcoin dominance sitting at resistance. Why would you be bearish at this moment? You don't have any reason to be bearish at this point, because almost everything is in your favor. But because we have Trump as president, who could simply just say something in the next few hours, because he literally said just a few hours ago that he's going to impose 200% tariffs on France. And then he just said a couple of other things that obviously don't make any sense. So because of all these reasons, and then you have this ascending trend line also on the Bitcoin chart, which is one thing that I absolutely do not like in this whole situation. One thing which could basically make Bitcoin break impulsively below this level, which could simply just ruin all of these things. That's Bitcoin sitting on an ascending trend line. Okay, that's the only thing which I'm basically scared about. Okay, so one more chart I have to show you, which is the chart for others.d. Now remember that Bitcoin dominance is at resistance and others.d is sitting at support. Okay, so you have to basically look at both of these charts together. Bitcoin dominance at resistance, others.d at support. So, I said this in my update also yesterday, that two things could happen. We may have an immediate recovery here, which means that, Bitcoin dominance may just immediately start going down from here. Or you may see something like this, in which, by the way, I was constantly warning all of you about this break below the ascending trend line. Okay, so half of my live streams, during half of my live streams, I'm literally warning all of you about how to interpret these trend lines. All you have to do is just draw an ascending trend line, draw a descending trend line, and that's all you have to do, right? If you had noticed this trend line, descending trend line on the stablecoin dominance chart, you would have probably taken a short position on Bitcoin, just a few days ago, as soon as you had the weekly candle close, because you had a clear indication that stablecoin dominance would break above. Same is the case here. You could have probably entered a bunch of short positions, based on the fact that others.d is sitting at this ascending trend line. So others.d, we have a small deviation below this level. So, there could be a move like this, in which in which others.d would give you a small deviation below the support, then it would go up a little bit, a small recovery, then it would go back down to give the retest, and then an upside move. Okay, so whenever you have a deviation, something like this usually happens, okay? And I would say in almost 70 to 80% of the situations, you have a break below support, just a small deviation below support, then price would quickly came back up, an immediate recovery, then a small consolidation, retest, and then a big recovery, okay? So that's how basically the setup looks like. In this case also, you have a small deviation. So I don't think price is going to immediately recover at this point, which means that Bitcoin dominance is not immediately going to go down. It will give you a small move upside, maybe a big wick upside or something like that, which basically means that others.d will just continue to move downside. It will give a retest and then you would get to see an immediate recovery, which means that you could actually see a big move downside uh, on altcoins in the next few hours. Okay. And the reason why I say this is because if you take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, it has actually a complete history of giving these kind of wicks. Okay. So you see that we have a big wick upside, we have a big wick upside, then we have a massive wick upside, which basically happened back on 10th of October 2025, a day that none of us will forget about. And yeah, that's how basically it works. And by the way, if any one of you is not following me on Twitter, please make sure to do that. I just shared a very, very important tweet about why the risk to reward ratio, or why having a higher RR is not the only thing that you have to be paying attention to. You need to take a look at the other factors also, like your win rate, like your drawdown, etc. Everything matters equally. So if anyone telling you that RR is the only thing which matters, you could have a 40% win rate and go with 3 risk to reward ratio, 2 risk to reward ratio, 4 risk to reward ratio. You don't really have to worry about anything. He simply just got no idea what he's talking about. So please make sure that you are following this link that I'm sharing in the chat box. Read this whole thing and do not get blinded by what people are saying online. Telling you that RR is the only thing which matters. No, it's not the only thing which matters. There are a couple of other things also that really matter. So make sure to save this tweet, save it as a reference, use it as a reference, and you can always go back to this tweet and calculate the maths yourself. Whenever you are doing backtesting, whenever you're creating a strategy, or whatever you're doing yourself, you can just use all of these matrix yourself. Okay, so I've shared the maths and everything in detail, so you can check it out. And yeah, I've shared the link in the chat box also. Now over to you guys. If you have any questions, please make sure to let me know in the chat box. I was talking about Bitcoin dominance, and I was basically telling you guys that Bitcoin dominance has a history of giving you these big wicks upside. So it's definitely possible, right? Cannot even make 1 hour. Okay. Then you need to work on your strategy, maybe. Then you definitely need to work on your strategy. Winter was taken. Because 1 hour is the absolute minimum. With 1 hour, you need to have at least above 50% win rate just to survive. Okay, so it's really important. And people telling me that I'm not taking any short positions here, the reason is obvious. We need a daily close above. We need a 4H close below support on Bitcoin chart for us to take any short positions. Why does Michael Saylor still keep buying Bitcoin? Because this is what he has been doing for the past 5 years or so. Okay, so it's not like he's doing it for the first time. I guess he just did another buying worth $2 billion, 20,000 Bitcoin or so. He just announced his buying, like just a few hours ago. XMR short. No, you cannot take a short on XMR. The reason I will show you, XMR has been moving in an uptrend. What you could have done is to take a long position on XMR, when this retest happened. But apart from that, there is no reason for me to take any short position on XMR. I mean, why would I do that? Okay, it's kind of, the obvious question is, why would you take a short position on XMR when you do not have price breaking below support, when the trend looks a complete bullish? Why would you take that? Why would you take any short position? The only place where you can actually build a short position on XMR is the one in which it would break below the support level. So you see, you had a rejection, then you had another one, another rejection, finally a reclaim, the retest happened, then big move towards upside. So the only possibility in which you can take a short position is the one in which it will give you a move like this. So you could take the breakout short trade, or you could take the retest short trade, and it's just going to be a good one. I mean, that's what happens, most of the times. So XMR is no different from Zcash. Whatever happened to Zcash is going to happen to XMR. So ultimately, it's going to dump, but you need to have a reason to short something, right? And at this point, at least I don't see any reason to short XMR. It's not breaking below any support. It's not losing any support level, due to which I would say that okay, I should be taking a short position. I hope it makes sense. If there is any other recommendation, please let me know in the chat box. And guys, this is an advice for all of you. Please do not get obsessed with one particular coin, because I've been getting too many requests from people asking me that how can they short XMR. You would have multiple different opportunities. You don't have to necessarily short XMR. Something which is moving in an uptrend. You could simply just go with so many of these other coins. For example, ALCH, this one is down 39% already in the last 24 hours or so. So you have so many different opportunities. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, we just recently launched a new channel in a Discord server in which one person is going to be specifically telling you as to why exactly a particular coin is pumping, or as to why exactly a particular coin is dumping. So every single coin that gives you a big move upside or big move downside in the last 24 hours, he would basically explain to you the complete logic, not the technical reasons as to if price just had a structure change or anything like that. No, he would give you the fundamental reason, because that's what usually happens, right? Every time you have a big move downside, I'm sure there has to be some fundamental news related to Alchemist. This is exactly why this coin is dumping, maybe some hack. So we have been preparing for this channel for the last, I would say, 3 to 4 months, and you're going to find really useful information in that channel. You would basically get to know as to why exactly each one of these coins are pumping or dumping. Why exactly ALCH or Rose had a 17% or 39% dump in comparison to some of these other coins that are down only 5% to 6%. So, once you have, and same is the case with top gainers also, as to why exactly XC Infinity is pumping. Wow, XC Infinity is pumping. This coin has been dead for so long. I remember my friend who bought XC Infinity in 2022 at $75. So he basically invested in two coins. One was Alice at $27, and then the other one was XC Infinity at $75. I still remember these two coins. Oh my god. Yeah, he basically bought XC Infinity somewhere around here at 75. And now it's down almost 99%, I guess. Yeah, 99%. Share a screenshot for people to see, not for me, but people who are not in Discord. Yeah, okay, so let me do that real quick. Uh, this is the kind of information that you would get in the Discord server about that pump and dump thing. So the channel's name is Token Updates. Okay, guys, you can see that on my screen, and you can see that he has been sharing regular updates. For example, uh, Rose pumped. Okay, Rose had a big pump yesterday. OSIS is privacy-focused layer 1 blockchain built for AI and Web3. It's home to Sapphire, the first confidential EVM which allows developer to build decentralized apps. OSIS uses a unique, so he has given a little bit of details about the project itself, what exactly the project is all about, what exactly the narrative is about. The project has strong institutional support, and this is exactly why it has also announced a $235 million ecosystem fund to support new projects building on the network. So this is the reason why we had this big move upside. Uh, so yeah, you can basically see that he has been sharing details about other tokens also as to why exactly we have. So for example, RVV, the main cause of the crash was a massive insider sell-off. 18 wallets sold a total of 890 million 𝗟VV tokens worth about $10.6 million. Blockchain analysis shows these tokens came directly from the project's minting contract. So basically, the developers decided to dump the token, and that's why we have this big move downside. So yeah, it's actually a very useful way of looking at the charts. Normally we would just talk about what's happening in terms of technical analysis, but it's actually a very good thing that we have now introduced this channel in which you would find information about every single token which has pumped or dumped during the last 24 hours. Uh, yeah. For example, Rave, after its launch, the token saw a strong price move in the late December, but now it's obviously giving all of those gains back. This is what usually happens when you have this big move upsides in tokens that do not provide any sort of utility. uh yeah, for Timmy, the project is also facing trust issues because the team behind it remains anonymous. This raises concerns. In addition, there have been no positive catalysts recently after the strong hype in November driven by events like Binance Alpha listing. Acquisition news and server expansion updates. January 2026 has been quiet with no fresh announcements or developments to support. Selling pressure has continued to dominate the market. So yeah, you would find information, then you would find news events also. You can see that layer 0 token unlock we have on 20th of January. It's basically happening today for 𝗂RO. What's happening with 𝗂RO? So let's see. Yeah, it's just dumping. Yeah, 10% down already during the last 24 hours. And by the way, price was also sitting at the resistance. I have small wins. Uh, what is your view on Boom USDT? Your friend is like me, then buying on top and selling on bottom. Your friend is like me. Yeah, he said that he would just continue to hold his position on 𝗪𝗓𝗏 Infinity and Alice because he got nothing else to do with those coins now. What's your view on Boom? Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at Boom USDT, Book of Memes, another meme coin. This is actually one of my favorite coins. Uh, so this is the trade that I was planning to take. Uh, when we had the meme coins pumping, you can see that it have been a really good trade. So during the first week of Jan, most of the meme coins they had a really amazing pump. You had price breaking above the resistance. This was a breakout candle. I remember I was planning to take a long position on it, but then I just went with some other coin, not with this one. But you can see that you had a breakout candle, then you had the retest candle. Breakout was successful, the retest was successful. It did give you almost a 33% move. Then the second retest happened, then a small third retest happened. Then price had a break below the level, and then the first retest of the resistance happened. So this is what exactly, this is exactly the way that you would trade support, support and resistance levels. Okay. So the first retest, a very good shorting opportunity it was. You can see that price is down almost 8% already. So yeah, this is how I look at Boom, Book of Memes. It has almost given all of the gains acquired during the first week of January, which is not a good thing actually. And yeah, the next support you have is again at this level, a very small support at this level. It's in fact given a small bounce at this support already, a small 4-hour bounce at this support already, but I don't think it's just going to survive. If I had to take a short position, I would still like to do it here. You can see that this was a very good short position given that price almost always gives respect to these levels. So the retest, another retest, break below the first one, the second one, another break above the first one, the second one, break below the first one. So yeah, there is no reason why we should be taking a long position on this one, or the short position opportunity is gone already. What you would do is you would wait for the reclaim and then you would take a long position just like you should have done at this point. Very simple. Same thing is okay, so for first Sush is saying I have small wins but big loss for my portfolio size. When the market is good, I risk more than usual. No, that's not how you do it. So I basically shared a tweet a few days ago about this as well, for using the Kelly criterion. but that's not how you have to do it because it's a little bit complicated and a little bit advanced also. But you have to, like, keep your risk to minimum. At minimum, you just cannot risk more, obviously. So yeah, this is the classic risk management problem, that I'm winning small but I'm losing big. Yes, you have to focus on the risk to reward ratio, but that does not mean that you only have to focus on the risk to reward ratio. There are so many other things also to focus on. Luckily, I'm still in small profits, but I have been in the same position as I was in 3 months ago. You should be lucky that at least you are in small profits, because most people, they've lost their portfolio after October 10th specifically. Could you please explain deviation more or some examples? Austin is asking. Austin, I have, by the way, a complete module in my mentorship program on deviation. I have 3 videos on this on YouTube available of me talking about deviations, but deviation is actually very simple. So when you have deviation, I would try to explain it, you know, in the simplest possible manner, but it's not that simple. There are a few other things also involved in this concept. So let's suppose you have price getting rejected at a resistance, then suddenly you have this breakout above. We know that 90% of the traders, they are breakout traders. All those people who were taking the short positions, they got stopped out here. Okay. All those people who opened the long positions, now they are about to get trapped. Okay. Short positions got stopped out. Long positions got stuck here, because soon after that, price will just give you a break below this level without giving you any consolidation and without giving you any meaningful move towards upside. Now the short positions got stopped out because all these people, because price had a break above this resistance level, because that's where the majority of the people, they usually would place their stop loss. Long positions got stuck here. Okay, now they also got stopped out, and we know that whenever the long positions are being closed, selling is taking place, and more and more people, they would enter new short positions, and as a result of it, you have a deviation, and price would just continue to go down. This is just a very simple to understand explanation of deviation. Same is the case with the support as well. You have price sitting at a support, price would break below the support, it will stop out all of these long positions, and then it will quickly come back up, and it will trap all of these short positions, people who took short positions at this breakout. Now longs got liquidated or got stopped out, shorts are stuck, they also got liquidated or got stopped out. And now we know that whenever the short positions are being closed, buying takes place, more and more people, they would enter into this long positions, because they would notice this breakout, and more people, they would notice this deviation, and they will enter into long position, and as a result of it, you will have an immediate big move towards upside. This is exactly why deviation works. It's not uh, anything illogical, it's just a very logical concept, I would say, which has got everything to do with the basic dynamics of how, the market works. I don't know what I should do. I'm making stupid mistakes, and when good opportunities come, I risk small and I just come back where I was last month, and this cycle repeats. You just have to give it some time, guys. You just have to give it some time. This is not something which you will be able to learn just in a few days or just in a few months. I'm always telling people that even if you have to acquire a professional degree, it's going to take you almost 4 years, right? In order to acquire a professional degree, and you are looking at something which is like extremely difficult to master. So that's why you have to give it some time. You're basically looking at something which is not easy money. This is probably the most difficult way to make money. People confuse trading because they think that it's probably easy way to make more money. Yes, it is a way to make more money, but it's a difficult way to make more money. Okay, obviously once you would master it, once you would learn everything, then it would be probably easier for you, but it's definitely not an easy way to make more money. It's difficult way to make more money, I would say. XVG. This coin I don't like, honestly. This coin gives little respect to the support and resistance levels. So yeah, I normally avoid trading this coin, but an obvious big resistance at this level. This is the reason why I don't like trading this coin. You see, price had a breakout above resistance, a very small move towards upside, nothing significant. But anyways, price had a breakout above resistance, then came back under resistance again, The retest happened, multiple retests happened, and now we just have price. That's where a big support is. No, it's just sitting in the middle of nowhere. You know, there is actually a small resistance here. So if you're planning to take a short position, don't do that, or even a long position, because it has a small resistance here, but it's not an actual resistance, because historically speaking, price would just give so many fake outs. The actual range is this one, which we are looking at. You have support here, and then you have resistance here, and price right now is sitting in the middle of nowhere. That's where you have to take a short position. Sorry, that's where you have to take a short position, stops above, and this is your target. This is how your short positions will work. And if you're willing to take the long positions, then you need to wait for price to give you a break above. But I almost always avoid trading this coin. I had a bad experience trading this coin almost like 6 months ago when we hit a stop loss on this coin, and I realized that this coin gives little respect to the SR levels. That's why I honestly don't look at this coin anymore. you know by the way, how many of you have liked the live stream? Almost 40 people watching the live stream, but only 17 of you have liked it. Guys, make sure to like the live stream and subscribe to the YouTube channel also. I guess that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. Please make sure to join the Discord server as well. The link you can find in the description of this video. Interesting Discord server we have. You can basically just ask any questions. You can basically get live help. We are trying to introduce more and more products. And by the way, another important update for you guys, we are now launching our own weekly newsletter as well. So you can simply just go to 𝗨𝗏𝗿𝗄𝗏 website, scroll down on the home page, enter your email address here, and subscribe to our newsletter. Okay, this is really important. Subscribe to our newsletter so that you would get all of these updates in your inbox directly. So weekly newsletter, we have been working on this newsletter for the past 2 to 3 months. It's just going to be really useful, highly analytical. All the information that you would need about the past week, you would find in that newsletter. So please make sure that you're going to the website 𝗨𝗏𝗿𝗄𝗏 and entering your email address here, and then subscribing to the newsletter. So thank you so much, guys. Take care and have a great week ahead. Make sure to like the live stream. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, 𝗟R𝘁𝗲𝗏. This is my Twitter handle. And if you are liking the updates, if you think it's providing you any value, then you can join the Discord server for more organized updates and calls. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye. See you guys next week. Thank you. And for any other questions, you can ask in the Discord server. I would respond to you in the Discord server. If you have any chart requests, just ask in the Discord server.